I know that you spend a lot of time talking to real estate people. I've had you at several real estate events. Um, but at the same time, a lot of people in real estate are in other businesses as well. What do you get out of when you go to a real estate event? How is it different, and how do you tailor your message to people in the real estate business versus other industries?
I always like to find out what is going on, what's the market looking like, what are some of the challenges in that specific organization or that group, or what's taking place, to really cater it and fine tune. Each company has different advantages, or there's certain companies or organizations have different technology, or things that others don't. So really want to be in alignment with what's taking place with the organization or the group, because want to speak to them in their
Right.
language.
Right.
But what I find is, I said it earlier, I'll say it again, real estate is real estate, right? And at the end of the day, there are certain core principles, there are certain things that are tried and true, that if you really just did those things, you're going to be successful. But most importantly, it is the mindset and the psychology. You shared about it a little bit ago. The mindset is huge, and it's everything. But to answer your question, that's really, there's a lot of similarities, right? If you got the recipe to the best chocolate cake in the world, you don't need it. You don't need to change too much if you want to duplicate that same best chocolate cake in the world.
It's funny you say that, because I'm not much of a cook, but I went to impress my wife actually with a barbecue. I went online, found a great recipe, and killed it. And she was going on and on about how great it is, because I never cook at all. And it was like, but really, I just watched a YouTube and took notes and just did what this master chef told me to do. It wasn't that hard. It wasn't magic, but I did what the master chef told me to do. And I think you really hit it on the head, which is, for the most part in real estate, there's not a lot of difference between what top performers do and the non-top performers. It's just the top performers do it consistently at a real high level with a high intensity. And that comes from their mindset, right? They just think differently. And as a result, do some of the same mundane things. They just consistently do it at a better level. So let's talk a bit about the principles that Tony brings to our world, and I've seen you teach. What are things that somebody needs to do to improve their consistent, actions, so that they know what they're supposed to do, they struggle with doing it? What are things they can do to get themselves to execute those things more consistent, with more intensity, on a consistent basis?
Yeah, so you're just to rephrase the question, or just to make sure I heard it correctly, for the most part, most individuals, they know what to do, but how or what can they do to stay consistent with doing what they know, or making sure that they're just trusting that process and continuing to do that? Is that correct?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Trust the process. How do you get to trust the process?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, right? Well, there's two parts to it. There's the mental aspect of it, and then there's the strategy part of it, right? So making sure that you do have the right strategy, the right tools, and trusting that process, right? But in order for you to trust that process, it's having the belief, it's having the psychology, having the emotional commitment towards it, and knowing that it's not going to happen overnight, but asking yourself the question. And again, I'll go back to something you said. Is this what you're doing, or whomever may be watching, is this a hobby, right? Is this a career? Is this a job? Is this your mission? Because just that decision, or how you describe what you do, that by itself is going to tell you how consistent you'll be, or how inconsistent you'll be, right? So it's the internal dialogue that we have. And you take a look at someone who, if it's a hobby, then they're going to do the things that they must do when they have the time, because it's kind of like a hobby, right? Which is nothing wrong with that, but you can't have the expectations of a mega or top producer with the expectations of, I'll do this in my free time, or when I can get to it, right? So it's really,
or when it's easy, or when it's convenient, or when it's fun, or when it feels like I'm winning.
Yeah, and even to that point, Bill, right? How often are top producers always winning, or when it's easy, or not, or when it's just super comfortable? Not all the time, right? And in fact, if they are experiencing that, it's because they put in the time when it was uncomfortable, when it was challenging, when they had to make sacrifices, or they had to develop that skill set so it became more fun, or they had that internal dialogue inside themselves and asking them a question: how could I make this fun? right? Or, what could I do to make sure that I enjoy this process, even though I don't want to door knock or get, the door slammed in my face, or I don't want to get rejected over the phone, because there's not too many people that I've come across in my life that enjoy cold calling or prospecting. Not saying it doesn't exist, but how can you make it a game out of it? Or how can you change your internal, association to what you're doing? Because it's not always fun, simple, easy, and comfortable.
Right. Well, and I think, like you said, it's about the mindset. For me, I talk to people who are, you just really help me understand why I struggle with people who are part-time. And the answer is, I tell them to do things, they look at me like I'm crazy. Well, I do these things until I achieve the goal. I mean, if I have to call, 40 people a day to get one really good referral, I'll do it. They'll call 5 or 10 and say it's uncomfortable. I don't really have a choice. This is my business. This is what I do. And I'll get through it because I enjoy the one call that I get so much that the 39 to get there is just the price you pay to get there. The part-time person who's not committed just won't put that time in to ever get the real skill or the appreciation of it. I never really thought it through that way before.